All right. So do you guys remember that whole that Salvadorian gang member, alleged guy that was supposedly accidentally sent back to his originating country, and then he's put in one of those I think it was like CCOT or that high security prison that they keep extremely dangerous people in. I remember the Supreme Court there was a district court said you better bring him back, and then there was some Supreme Court justices were like you better bring him back, and I was like, it's going to have a little bit of a problem because possession is this thing called 9/10 of the law. I went into this whole spiel about a 4-wheeler and X, and it's another. You just have to watch that video. It's a few videos back, but anyways, this is the thing, guys. So there was a recent meeting with the El Salvadorian president and Trump. You see here, and aside from them, Trump, pretty much putting Caitlin Collins in her place because one, she has no lips. I don't know what happened. I don't know if those, like I said, that frazzle drip thing was that the chick from the frazzle drip video, and she survived. They just forgot to put her lips on. I don't know, but so Caitlin Collins has no lips. She couldn't play a flute, poor girl. So she had to play the violin. Anyhow, they were asked about that guy, and the Salvadoran president said, I don't have to do anything. We have him now. Because what it is and what the media is not telling you, the reason why this guy was excommunicated from the United States is because they had overwhelming evidence of alleged emails. This is all alleged, by the way, YouTube. We're just alleging some stuff, throwing a few ideas out there. Okay, hate watching lefties. They're going to report my video, spreading misinformation. Well, it was speculated, but there was a lot of speculation. It was almost like things that you would be squirting in your body after a certain kind of pandemic would be causing some kind of serious health issue, speculation where it was in your face. And they were like, we got to get this guy out of the United States because he was allegedly speculated to be some kind of ringleader, allegedly, speculatively, of some stuff. And because of some kind of due process issue, same kind of problems with due process that wasn't given to a bunch of January 6th people just because they wanted to create a narrative. They want this guy back, which puts them at a serious flight risk because of the fact that they don't have a facility secure enough to keep the dude. Here's a video.
Bukele to help return the man who your administration says was mistakenly deported. The man who was mistakenly deported to El Salvador?
Well, let me ask Pam, would you answer that question?
Sure, President. First and foremost, he was illegally in our country. He had been illegally in our country. And in 2019, two courts, an immigration court and an appellate immigration court, ruled that he was a member of MS-13 and he was illegally in our country. Right now, it was additional paperwork had needed to be done. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us. The Supreme Court ruled, President, that if, as El Salvador wants to return him, this is international matters, foreign affairs, if they wanted to return him, we would facilitate it, meaning provide a plane.
So will you return him, President
And
Bukele?
you are doing a great job.
Thank you.
But Stephen Miller, wait a minute. Can you just also respond to that question? Because, it's asked by CNN, and they always ask it with a slant. Because they're totally slanting because they don't know what's happening. That's why nobody's watching them. But would you answer that question also, please?
Yes, gladly. So, as Pam mentioned, there's an illegal alien from El Salvador. So, with respect to you, he's a citizen of El Salvador. So, it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would even tell El Salvador how to handle their own citizens as a starting point. As two immigration courts found that he was a member of MS-13. When President Trump declared MS-13 to be a foreign terrorist organization, that meant that he was no longer eligible under federal law, which I'm sure you know, you're very familiar with the INA, that he was no longer eligible for any form of immigration relief in the United States. So he had a deportation order that was valid, which meant that under our law, he's not even allowed to be present in the United States and had to be returned because of the foreign terrorist designation. This issue was then, by a district court judge, completely inverted, and a district court judge tried to tell the administration that they had to kidnap a citizen of El Salvador and fly him back here. That issue was raised to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the district court order was unlawful and its main components were reversed 9-0 unanimously, stating clearly that neither Secretary of State nor the President could be compelled by anybody to forcibly retrieve a citizen of El Salvador from El Salvador, who again is a member of MS-13, which, as I'm sure you understand, is engaged in the most barbaric activities in the world, and I can promise you, if he was your neighbor, you would move right away.
So you don't plan
But
to
the
ask for
Supreme
anything
Court is
to get
asking
him back?
to.
And
that-
what was the ruling in the Supreme Court, Steve? Was it 9-0?
Yes, it was a 9-0
In our favor.
in our favor against the district court ruling, saying that no district court has the power to compel the foreign policy function of the United States. As Pam said, the ruling solely stated that if this individual at El Salvador's sole discretion was sent back to our country, that we could deport him a second time.
Well,
No version of this legally ends up with him ever living here because he is a citizen of El Salvador. That is the president of El Salvador. Your questions about it, per the court, can only be directed to him.
I asked
¿Usted lo
President
liberaría,
Bukele,
Presidente
what is your-
Bukele?
can President Bukele weigh in on this? Do you plan to return him?
Well, I'm suppose you're not suggesting that I smuggle a terrorist into the United States, right?
It's always
how,
the-
how can I smuggle? How can I return him to the United States? Like I smuggle him into the United States, or what do I do? Of course, I'm not going to do it. It's like, I mean, the question is preposterous. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States.
Not only does that make sense when you really break it down and the aspects of like the dude wasn't even really supposed to be here, regardless of whatever the allegations were. Just throw those out the window. Let's just throw the whole thing out the window with him being, you can't prove he was the gang member. Well, he wasn't here legally. It means he has to go home. By law. By the law that's been that way forever. And you can't get past that. You can't bring him back because you didn't give him his due process. No, he is a legal citizen of El Salvador, not the United States, which means he has. So, say for instance you break the law and smuggle him back in here, you have to send him right back home under the pretenses of him being not legal. And this President of El Salvador totally understands what's really going on here. By the way, it also just shows you how ignorant and stupid these judges are. And whoever's mad at the fact that this happened needs to be just as shamed mentally, intellectually. Yeah, which tells us a lot right there, which means, all you have to do is just maybe do some flights in the middle of the night, not tell anybody about it, and just get it done. That's what the Biden administration regime did when they brought them all over here. They had midnight flights, 2:00 in the morning, paid NGO flight companies to bring them in without the knowledge of any of the people because it was done in the middle of the night. Just do the same thing. Just round them up, send them off in the middle of the night, get them home first, already have an agreement with the country they came from. Bam-a-lamma ding-dong, possession is 9/10 of the law. Now come at me, brah. That's pretty much, I like the president of El Salvador's demeanor. He's kind of like, did he burn one before he came and seen the prison? He's like, yo, I can't. What do you want me to do? All I'm thinking about right now is maybe getting some pizza. I don't know. But, so, yeah, that's the thing, guys. It's just, the whole thing just doesn't make any sense. And now the Supreme, he's defying our orders. No, we'll bring him back if you want to smuggle him in, if you want to facilitate an illegal act. Sure, have at it. But that means that you're breaking the law. I don't know. Anyways, yep. All right, that's it. I'm out. Bye.